Hey guys, did you ever feel like a game or visual novel or whatever was just especially made for you? Let the furry jokes commence! I had a fun time doing Harvest December last year, and I do want to do more visual novels, although scheduling that one last year was kind of weird. And in any case, I like playing my JRPGs, so I'm going to be doing the unthinkable and uploading this every other day alongside Pokemon Heart Gold. Let's see, so, as it happens, my throat is all kinds of messed up today, which is really good because I'm going to be reading a visual novel, so if I make any dying noises, as usual, that's the case. Alright, so right off the bat, during that introduction sequence, I was not a fan at all of the graphic design in the, with like the words and the strokes around them and stuff. We'll see how the rest of the game, presents itself. Alright, detecting user profile, what is this? Is this gonna be, like, looking at my Steam account? Oh, no, okay. My name, and that cursor is, once again, offline. Misaligned. My name is, it's gonna be really weird to be calling myself Dragonite in a story where I believe the premise is that you are a human in a world of dragons, so I'm going to be going with something else. What am I going to be named? This is always the hardest part of playing a video game, is choosing your name. Alright, so I'm going to be playing two games, and I'm going to be going with the same color, the same name in all of them, in both of them. So I'm going to be showing more colors. What? Can I, like, what's the purpose of this? I believe my window skin is orange in Pokemon Heart Gold. Do I want to go with that, or like bronze? Brass? Metallic? I'm gonna go with orange. Wait. Actually, Dragonite's a yellow dragon, or whatever, I'm not gonna waste time on that. Use the profiles. Review the information. Use left click or enter to advance the text and scroll the menu options, because I am not playing this on a 3DS, surprisingly. Which means that the controls are going to be a little weirder. Alright, space to advance text only. Alright, I will be doing that. Escape or right click brings up the menu. F is full screen, which I don't want to do because it's going to screw up the recording. Mouse wheel page up and page down to review the log. Okay, so those are usually the rules. Alright, I'm not interested in those. I'm not interested in those. Okay. Here we go. Space to advance text. The year is 20XX. Only recently has humanity discovered a portal that leads to a different world populated with a race of intelligent talking dragons. I was one of the few to travel to this world. Lucky bastard. But maybe I should start at the beginning. It all began when we discovered a strange device in the middle of nowhere during one of our expeditions. A portal. Great. For what it's worth, I do have a great honking bottle of water. So if I start going downhill right in the middle of a sentence, I might be able to have some salvation. Where was I? I heard about similar technology before, though that had been more on an experimental level. From what I knew, other portals had been created in the past. Thank you, dog. Other portals had been created in the past and were under consideration for mass application. As for this one in particular, though, we did not know who had built it, nor when, or why we found it in the wilderness when we did. What was more exciting to us was the fact that it was functional. What was more exciting to us was the fact that it was functional. Okay. I'm not doing so bad so far compared to Harvest December. After our first test, we found that there was someone else on the other side who was in possession of a similar portal, and our attempts at communication through letters was successful. But in the end, the machine's extraordinary demand for power meant we needed to act quickly as we wouldn't be able to keep our portal open much longer. When we made this known to the other side, we received a very unexpected reply, a letter of invitation. After some deliberation, it was decided to accept their hospitality and to send a person to the other side. Alright, that sounds safe. There was an individual who took the job almost immediately. Is that stupid? Oh, okay, so you actually have a name. Reza is whatever. I'm gonna call him Reza. I knew him, or rather, I had known him. We had attended the same school back then, and even had a few classes together. We really never were very close friends, but we talked to each other occasionally and hung around the same crowd sometimes. However, we still went our separate ways in the end. As it happens. I wasn't sure what to think about the whole thing, but he had to have known that he was... alright, so there I'm not going and doing that well after all. But he had to have known what he was doing. He was certainly brave. Either that or just very, very foolish. While I wasn't sure which, his courage was applauded by others. After all, he couldn't possibly have known who or what would await him at the other side of the portal. And if he did meet someone there, who knew what kinds of intentions they might have. Not that any speculation on our part would have made a difference. When that day finally came, through he went with applause and echoing across the area. Equipped only with the clothes he wore, his multi-tool, a gun, and a device on his wrist that acted as a PDA. Then we waited. The crowd that was applauding him slowly dispersed when the enthusiasm died down, as there was nothing for us to do but wait and speculate. Approximately 8 hours later, we received our first message from him. While we had assumed the portal led to it into a different country, or maybe to a different continent, the reality turned out to be much more foreign. You don't know if this is even on the same planet as you. You couldn't have, like, sent out a message to the scientific community, hey, has anybody seen one of these? Just lying around in some office somewhere. Alright, foresight. The situation he described to us was so outlandish that we initially took it as a joke. A very bad joke, maybe, with even worse timing and no punchline at all. It soon became clear to us, though, that we may have just made one of the most important discoveries since the dawn of mankind. Finding the portal had been remarkable in itself, but this took it to a completely different level. From what he had... Okay, my spacebar is very, very loud, and maybe I shouldn't whack it quite so hard. From what he described about the place, or more accurately its inhabitants, we surmised that it could not be part of Earth at all. We called them dragons because according to Reza, that's exactly what they were, at least what they resembled the most. Even though we found it hard to believe, it had been those dragons who had sent us all the letters. Is their handwriting, like, terrible? I imagine it would be hard to write with claws and stuff. They could talk, write books, had buildings and electricity. In many ways, their society was actually very similar to our own. So who were they, and where was this place? Could they be aliens? Our speculations led us to conclude otherwise. After all, we had known about the existence of thousands of planets millions of light years away that may have been theoretically habitable. Yet, even then, we had never found conclusive proof in regards to actual alien life forms. Well, maybe that's because it's only... Oh, well, I guess the date in this story is 20XX, so that could be far in the future when they have ways to figure out those things. Other than just, like, looking at the light levels coming off the stars. Some people brought up quantum mechanics and parallel universes, but in the end... all of this was just conjecture and ultimately fruitless endeavor, since we neither had the means nor the resources to explore these possibilities in greater detail. I think there's just one more thing worth mentioning before I move on. The previous isolation had been mutual. They hadn't known about any other intelligent life forms beyond their own. Their portal had only recently been discovered, and it was a technology previously unknown to them. And just as we had myths about dragons, they had myths about us. I actually had a writing prompt in school a long time ago about, like, dragons are horrified by these skinny ape creatures who are able to project water from their mouths. And one day a little dragon kid finds a human kid and is fascinated by saliva. And, later on, I had one of those, like, thoughts at, like, 4 in the morning. Like, what if dragons tell stories about humans who just like to sit on massive piles of gold and like, chase away whoever comes and tries to get some or whatever? Anyway, that was what we knew about them so far, and as isolating as learning those things and debating their cultural significance was, we didn't really know what we should make of it all. Reza apparently was sure of what he was doing, though, as he eventually let us know that they had agreed on a trade. We were to give them a few of our PDA devices, which contained vast amounts of knowledge, and possibly Wikipedia, dwarfing even that of encyclopedias. In return, they would supply us with generators. Overall, they didn't seem as technologically advanced as we had been, but did surpass us in one aspect. The means of generating energy seemed sustainable. I mean, if you can create fire from your mouth, that's a bit of a start. Not only that, but evidently also quite efficient. We certainly would be able to put technology like that to good use, and trading mere past knowledge of the human race for something more tangible was a good call on his part. Although, let's be honest, are they going to be able to, like, know what to do with the PDA? Because you have the device, and you need a way to interface it. Like, I assume you don't have just a bunch of USB-C chargers lying around if you're not that technologically advanced, whatever. I think I'm reading a little too far into this, and it's only part 1. That was where I came in. My prior experience in both biology and sociology may be a good fit to deliver our PDA devices for trade. And while in the Dragon's world, waiting for the prototypes of our generators to be manufactured by them, I would act as an ambassador on humanity's behalf. What a way to make a first impression by a display of mutual goodwill. If only it worked like that, right? Everyone benefits and everyone goes home happy. All is well. At least, that was the plan. Despite the images that living, talking dragons might conjure up in some people's minds, I didn't even think of bringing a weapon myself, considering that they were reportedly friendly and peaceful enough. There was no need for me to fear potential ill intentions like Reza did when he had stepped into unknown territory, acting as humanity's ambassador. And I had to do my best to uphold a high standard in fostering this diplomatic relationship. When the time came for me to step through the portal, all my mental preparedness vanished. My anxiousness was fueled by all the questions lurking in my head, like why am I doing this, just as the machine started to do its work. Would it hurt? Who would I meet on the other side? What if they really weren't so friendly and just made Reza write those letters with the pretense of appearing friendly only to lure us into a den of man-eating monsters and certain doom, with all of us ending up as nothing more than a tasty afternoon snack? Maybe I should have brought a weapon after all, and did the music just stop on purpose or did something break? Oh, okay. Suddenly I felt a shiver coursing through my whole body and beyond when I disintegrated, as if every cell, every atom of my body was torn from me and put into a different direction. I saw darkness and light, painting patterns in the stars as I traveled, and images rapidly flashing before me of things unseen and unspoken. Both horrifying and beautiful, it was an experience unlike any other. Yet over in just a split second. Then it was dark. I could only see a patch of lighter color contrasting with the dark surroundings as my vision started to clear. Its edges got sharper as the patch of light slowly took shape, giving me the distinguished outline of a reptilian head and an array of horns sprouting from it. You're wearing a necktie. It was a dragon, and as I could see, a dragon who not only had a pair of round glasses, but also wore a burgundy tie around its neck. In the name of our people, I bid you welcome. Should I attempt to do funny voices like this the way I attempted and failed in Harvest December? I'm gonna go with no, on the grounds that would be stupid. If I may introduce myself, I am Remy, your guide and ambassador, yes, of our council. And so you got turned into a dragon when you went through the portal. Is that like a ritual of going through customs or something? Or whatever? The dragon spoke. Wait, no, the human that went through earlier wasn't Remy. That was like Reza or something, right? I've forgotten already. It probably wasn't important. We're probably not going to see him again. It was one thing to have heard and read about this, but something else entirely to have one standing in front of me in flesh and blood. And tongue. It was good that all my mental preparedness had disappeared when I was teleported because nothing could have prepared me for this. I'm sorry, I imagine you must still feel the effects of the teleportation. Drowsiness or weakness is not unusual, as is fainting and spontaneous emptying of your bowels, bladder, or stomach. It's good to know this now, I guess. How do you feel? Rendered speechless, I had totally forgotten that I was shouldering the burden of representing my people to them as well. So much for being professional, but at least he gave me a good excuse for my blunder. I think I'm alright. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Maybe we should go before it gets too dark. Come with me, please. So I followed the dragon, not straying too far from him, as the sun had already departed for the day and the remaining light diminished by the minute. By the way, aren't there a lot of, like, geological specs that you probably should have gotten before you went through the portal? Like the day-night system, like the temperature, the fact that there may or may not be, like, breathable oxygen here. Although I guess the other guy made it through and survived 8 hours, so it can't be that uninhabitable. It is getting hard to see where I'm going. Sorry about that. We had a good reason to schedule your arrival like this. We did not want you to be ambushed by a crowd, so we had to keep you at your exact time and date of arrival a secret. Thanks. I suppose an event like this would make me a celebrity of sorts. Although if they are coming to Earth, it would be a much different story. It would be the same if when no, it would not. It would definitely not. That's quite an understatement. Some people here are rather superstitious. They might regard you or any kind of you as, divine, I suppose. Yeah, see, that's what I would do, but there's like 7.5 billion other people on Earth who I don't think would say the same. Really? How so? We do have certain myths that involve humans as such. I suppose a history lesson would have to wait for another time. Here we are. Alright. By this point, it had gotten so dark that I could barely make out the building before us. I briefly wondered whether they might have streetlights elsewhere, or if they would just not require any due to possible enhanced eyesight or night vision. It's the Khajiit who have the night vision, sir. It's not the Argonians. I could vaguely see the dragon, his light color still visible within the blackness that engulfed the area, rear up and manipulate the drawer handle with one of his forepaws. It's kind of funny to think about dragons of having paws instead of, like, hands, because paws are like... Where's my dog? Never mind. Hinges creaking, the door opened, and with a flick of a switch, the apartment was flooded with light, blinding me, after all the time we had just spent without it. This is where you will live for the time being. It is fully stocked, but in case you need anything else, I left a note with a few phone numbers. It is getting rather late, so I'll have to take my leave now. In any case, somebody will come to meet you tomorrow morning. Thank you, Remy. Have a good night. Until we meet again. With a nod, Remy left the apartment, mindful enough to close the door behind himself. Surveying the room, I considered the events that had just transpired as my gaze met the window. I could see movement outside, and as I drew nearer, I startled. I could hear footsteps in the grass, moving away quickly. Assuming it must have been the dragon I just met, I thought nothing of it, and I went to bed and slowly succumbed to the sweet allure of sleep overdue. I spent a few moments thinking about my role, my mission, and what it meant to be here now. I felt the responsibility placed on my shoulders. I was eager for the adventure to come. Spacebar? Spacebar? Oh, that's a text prompt, okay. We're going with adventure. Yeah. Adventure awaits. So many possibilities and prospects raced through my mind. Truth be told, I thought of being able to meet an entirely new species of civilization. The thought of being able to meet an entirely new species of civilization excited me. As I was going to be one of the first to truly experience their society with its own little quirks, differences, and similarities, I couldn't help but feel like some sort of modern Viscaso, da Gama, or Marco Polo. Maybe I would even write a book about the whole experience after it's all over. I was sure it would become a hit, all things considered. Something tells me that that's where people start bringing up the whole Tolkien ripoff, comments stuff. Hey. At any rate, this was going to be fun. And that I agree with. And, is that like the end of the prologue or something? I've been recording for 18 minutes. Okay, chapter 1. And, I'm going to end it off as soon as I get to a stopping point. Or something. Alright, so the music has started. I am going to see what happens if I save. Oh, that's a quick save. Wait, can I bring up the menu? Can I do a hard save just in case? Okay, so, God, I used RenPy for a couple of weeks about a year ago. And those are the quick save slots. And I can't remember, like, what the default RenPy interface looks like, and if it looks like this. With the save menu and load menu and status. Okay, so there's actual gameplay mechanics here. I think this is not a canonical novel the way Harvest December was. I think there's actually branching in this one. Achievements. Settings. I poked through the video settings before I started recording, and I don't think there's anything I want to mess with. Audio. I can balance the audio settings and editing a little bit if I have to. Alright, that's a sound effect. And, okay, so that's enough of that. I'm going to end it off. My name is Dragonite, appropriately enough, although I guess for the purposes of this story, I'm gonna call myself stupid. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you all later.